Welcome to Madlik. My name is Jeffrey Stern, and at Madlik we light a spark or shed some light on a Jewish text or tradition. We host Madlik Disruptive Torah on your favorite podcast platform and now on YouTube and Substack. We also publish a source sheet on Sefaria, and a link is included in the show notes. We are just a few days before Passover, and like you, I'm preparing and sharing insights. I'm excited to share a few Madlik insights on the Haggadah that I hope enhance your Seder as they will mine. In this second mini-episode, we discuss something simple, but I think surprisingly powerful. I hope you enjoy. Sometimes the deepest ideas in Judaism start with the smallest details. The Seder doesn't begin with a blessing. It doesn't begin with Kiddush. It doesn't begin with a commandment. It doesn't even begin in Hebrew. It begins like this: Halachma Anya. This is the bread of affliction. But listen more closely, not to the sentence, to the sound. Ha, a breath. The opening of the Haggadah is not in the language of Torah. It's in Aramaic, the language people actually spoke, the language of marketplaces, kitchens, exile, displacement, even wartime. So the Seder begins in real life, not with abstraction, but with something you can almost hear, a voice catching, a breath releasing, a people beginning again. A few years ago, I published a Sefaria source sheet called With a Breath. It has a few thousand views, so I guess it kind of resonated. But it was a bit of poetic license. Like a good midrash, it started with something small, the first syllable of the Seder. Ha. There's a remarkable teaching in the Talmud based on a misplaced hey in Genesis 2:4. It says, Elu toldos hashamayim va'aretz behibaram. Such is the story of heaven and earth when they were created, but it has that extra behei baram. The Midrash in Bereshit Rabbah 12:10 says, Rabbi Abuhu, in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, said, Behei baram, with the letter hey he created. And what is this hey? All the letters require the tongue, and this, the hey, does not require the tongue. Similarly, it was not with effort and not with toil that the Holy One created the world. In Psalms 33:6 it says, By the word of the Lord were the heavens made, and all the host of them by the breath of his mouth. Why this letter hey? Because it's almost nothing. You don't shape it with your lips. You don't push it with your tongue. It's just breath. Creation begins not with force, but with an exhale. And then you realize the Seder begins the same way. After days, sometimes weeks of cleaning, koshering, shopping, preparing, after all the urgency, anxiety, and noise, and unfortunately this year, there's more of that than ever, we sit down. And the first thing we do is not speak theology, not tell a story, not perform a ritual. We say, ha. So why start here? Because you cannot begin the story of redemption while holding your breath. Before memory, before narrative, before identity, there is something more basic: release. There are years when this feels symbolic, and there are years when it feels urgent. A year when Jews in Israel may be sitting in shelters. A year when Jews in the diaspora feel something tightening again, something we thought we had left behind. In a year like this, breath is not poetic. It's essential. The genius of the Haggadah is that it does not begin with answers. It begins with an opening, a loosening, a single, fragile sound. Ha. We tend to think the Seder begins with memory, but maybe it begins earlier than that. Maybe it begins the way the world itself began, not with words, but with breath. And maybe that's the invitation. Before you explain, before you teach, before you remember, take a breath. Chag Sameach. I hope you enjoyed and look forward to the next mini episode. Thanks.